I wouldn't be here without my friends and my family. And God, all right, without God first.
So that was a beautiful piece about support, right?
Yeah.
And I know you had mentioned there was something that came to you out of that support experience that you wanted to share regarding dating for, I guess, the near future or the future.
Yeah. My husband. My boo.
Your boo thing.
I think what it was I had the opportunity to be blessed with having an amazing father figure. Yeah. So therefore, there's certain qualities of a man that I'm looking for, seeking for, and you better have it. Just
searching for.
Right? I think though, one thing I will say about grief and dating is that what's happening is that I want to be vulnerable due to the fact that it took me so long to get to a place of vulnerability. And because I'm so aware of where I am, my father is a sacred place to me, but he's a huge part of who I am. So therefore, I want to share, I want to talk about him, but I just can't do it with everybody. Vulnerability is wonderful because it leads you to open new possibilities, but it's also a door to get hurt. If you do it with the wrong person, you can get hurt.
It's a risk. You
can get hurt, and don't be hurting nobody if you ain't got no band-aids.
I like that.
I'm just saying.
Listen,
don't do all that. You know?
I love it.
Don't do all that. So I feel like, moving forward, the kind of man that I want is someone that I can really talk to, because I am still going through it. Yeah. I still get triggered. I still have my depressive moments. I overthink. I'm a type A personality, so I have perfectionist kind of tendencies. I want things to be popping all the time. I'm an intellect. I like to have real conversations. Yeah. And it's like I want that to be identified within my partner, and I want to share that with him. So if I can't be vulnerable with you to the point where I can discuss how we're talking right now about my grief, which is the makeup of who I am, it's not going to work.
Yes. I agree. Totally 100%. Yeah. Hands down with that vulnerability piece. Yeah. What I will say about vulnerability is it's something that as you get more and more comfortable with it, it continues to get more and more challenging. Yeah, it isn't something that you just reach and you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm vulnerable.
I'm vulnerable. No, here's my story.
No, because vulnerability seems, in my opinion, and also in my experience, it seems to be a thing that you practice every time a moment happens. Right? So when you talk about realizing now in dating, how now you're like, okay, I'm gonna need to be vulnerable. You do, right? And then there'll be another instance and another instance. I think for me, where I'm in my process of what is happening in my life right now, vulnerability is another thing that's coming up, the challenge of it, of like, oh, you need to be vulnerable in these areas, and I'm over here like, no, I can't do it. I gotta protect myself. But you know what, like you said, it's always gonna be a risk either way. Living life is a risk
100%,
because there's a choice of surviving it or existing, but living life is a risk. The risk of it being beautiful, the risk of it being great, because you said something, your father has been a great father figure in your life. He is embedded in who you are. And as a woman, the things you've learned from him, as his daughter, the things you took away, that's a risk. He made a choice to live and take a risk and have a family, and you got to reap that. Yes, he passed away. That's the sad part, but that's the risk. It's the risk. Right. You date, you could get hurt. That's the risk. Or it could go well. You get married, it could last forever. Or you divorce. It doesn't matter, because even in the pieces where it doesn't go well, hindsight, you might still learn something. Right? And I think that's with anything in our lives. Even the parts where I could say, for me, prior to becoming a therapist, I had a different career. If you ask me, that career was going to be my whole life. I was gung-ho. I was set on it. And it broke my heart when I realized I didn't want to do this. And I was like, what do I do now? What's going to happen? So when I was asking myself, what's going to happen? Those were moments, at the time I didn't know it, but now looking back, I was like, wow, I really had to get intimate and vulnerable with myself, to get honest and be like, what do I really want to do? What's going to happen? What is that going to look like? And I think from these experiences, I've kind of taken the lessons and carried them over to other moments in my life, other opportunities that presents itself. And when I feel like I'm about to take risk and I close my eyes and I think about, what was that feeling again? When I was ready to leave a job that was good paying, I busted my butt to change a whole career and start from scratch. What was that feeling again? How did I push through again? And when I remember those things, I take that and I'm like, all right, this is another situation, another opportunity, another thing that's freaking me out. And I want to run and I don't want to do this, but I'm closing my eyes and I'm like, okay, I will get through this as well, right? And so that's how I see vulnerability, as a thing that is a constant practice.
Oh, 100%. I think that it ties into so many different things, right? Because I felt like my boundaries got really high with grief. I had to know when I was able to do something and when I couldn't. And I felt like the best way to be fair to others was to set boundaries. Why would I be upset with you if you don't know that this makes me upset? And then also, vulnerability cannot be shared with everybody. Not everybody can handle certain levels of vulnerability.
Absolutely.
And you have to kind of learn and almost test it out to see how people respond and react. Not everyone has the capacity to listen to you. Then you have to repeat yourself.
Repeat. You have to, hopefully they understand.
And it's like, you're not listening to me. You're not hearing me. And how I interpret that is, it's not important to you.
I see.
So when I talk to someone, I give you my full undivided attention. There's no TV in the background. I don't have 1,000 things trying to do all these things at once. Because if you're sharing something deep with me, I want to process that. So with being vulnerable, setting those boundaries, having that inner peace to know how to explain your vulnerability, so it's not in rage, right? Sometimes it come out like that, but just having the opportunity to be honest, you know, and knowing that now when I make my decisions, I said to God, I don't want to make a decision without you. I can't make a decision without you. It doesn't work. You are always going to guide me. You're going to lead me to talk to the right people, be in the right spaces at the right time. So therefore, I want to talk to you first. What do you think? And let's go. Let's do it. So vulnerability is huge.
All right. I love it. I do. I mean, I love it. And once I've discovered it, I feel like I do love it. And I think it makes sense to my life. It's needed, but you're right. Especially that piece about it's not for everyone. Not everyone has the capacity for it. And
they don't.
It's all about being mindful of that. But you know what's interesting? With vulnerability, it allows grace to exist for others in a way, because for me, what I've learned is I used to hold everybody to such a strict, rigid standard. If you didn't meet this, if you didn't meet that, I used to be all that. But then I realized, you know what? But what if they can't? What if they literally cannot? What if they do not have the capacity, the thought process? What if they're not even there in their life? What if they didn't have my experiences and they can't? So it's either I learn to just accept what they can offer, right? And embrace that, because there's still beauty in that. I'm not dismissing anyone who isn't. But then knowing who I can be deeper with and who I can rely on, or who. So it took me time to learn that.
Key point. Who I can be deeper with. That took me some years to learn. Why? Because my sister said to me a few years ago, I was like really mad. Sometimes when people are like, yo, why are they doing this? And she's like, you cannot expect you from everybody. You can't. And I do. And I didn't know that I did. So I think about well, if it was me, I would handle it this way. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, not everybody thinks like that. But to your point, that's the biggest key, is who you can do that with. So with dating, with friends, with family, with everybody in my life, I need to be still, understand myself, to really identify with my energy, how am I going to expose myself to this person?
Exactly. Okay. You know? I love that. And listen, by no means am I saying I'm an expert or I've got it all down pat, or I don't slip up and do some of these things again that I used. It all happens, but having the knowledge every day helps me 100%. Propel or catch myself, or I find myself understanding things quicker, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'm learning, you know? So it is what it is.
And healing is not a one-stop destination. Like, healing is like this, you know?
I tell my clients, it's the cha-cha slide.
It is.
That's what healing is, you know?
But sometimes I don't want to cha-cha, sometimes I want to sit down and drink some Moet. I'm just saying, sometimes I don't want to cha-cha, sis. My feet hurt.
I know.
Wearing these heels.
And that is why healing doesn't have a certain length of time. You can sit down for a minute, take off the shoes.
I'm going to be healing for the rest of my life, only because not only am I healing from this, I will be healing from other things, right? So I will be in a healing phase forever. And I'm learning as I go how to deal with that, individually.
But to think about it, right? To say we've arrived, to say we've healed, to say we've done it all, is to reach expiration.
Right, that's true.
We're forever growing.
That's very true.
And we're forever healing. Then we're forever living.
That's true.
Right? So I think it's perfectly well said. Yeah. So now that we're getting to this point where we're ending up our conversation.
Oh my God, we gotta go, girl.
We do. I'm sorry.
We talking about healing all that. You
want I know. Don't worry. Right. I'll have you back, girl. We'll come back for other topics.
We'll
but I did want to say that I know you have your podcast.
I do.
Save the Good Girl.
Save the Good Girl.
Yes. And I love it. It's coming back June 19th.
It is.
Interestingly enough, Erica's first topic of conversation is going to be about grief. So I think this is a great kickoff, right? If you want to hear more, if you want to hear more about her process and have her get more in depth, follow her at Save the Good Girl and go check out her podcast on Spotify, Apple.
Yeah, it's in so many different platforms. Okay. Apple, Spotify, Pandora,
got it.
Google.
All right.
My website, SaveTheGoodGirl.com. If you don't have any of those platforms, you can listen to it there as well.
Awesome. So listen, this conversation was great.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for trusting me to guide this conversation, to be involved in this conversation with you. Because seriously, like what you and your family went through, I was like, wow. And I really didn't have all the tools. And I'm like, well, how do you help a bunch of people you love, but you don't really know and you didn't expect? So it was just like, you know what? I'm just going to show up when I can, send messages when I can, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just grateful to see your process, to see that you've gotten to this point.
Yes.
And you know what? As Erica mentioned, grieving is not one stop. It isn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps of stages of grief as well. It's just going through the process. And I think as the biggest takeaway is support, right?
Yeah,
having that support system to lean on is so important, right? And I think that's true throughout all the history of humankind.
Absolutely.
We do need one another. And so thank you for coming. Thank you for chatting up with me, chopping it up with me. I enjoyed it. I can't wait for you to come back so we can talk about other topics as well.
Absolutely.
Because I know we could talk for hours, but we'll wrap it up for now. I mean, any last words, anything you want to leave anyone with, any tidbits,
I would say that in the podcast, as you mentioned, I definitely will talk a lot more, but I would say that I went to an event, a networking event. I shared that with you, right?
Yeah.
And I did not want to do this podcast at all, as you know. I was kind of over it. Like, how can I save the good girl? I need to save myself. But when I went up there, because, gotta be in my business, and he was like, go up there and say, talk about your podcast. And I'm like, why? I'm not doing it. Like, I haven't done it in 3 years.
Yeah.
And I came up with TADA, which is trying again, doing again, entrepreneur.
I like that.
And I would say that with grieving, there's not a final point where it's like, okay, I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm good. It is something that we need to learn how to live with. Yeah. It is something that I truly believe that you can and will overcome, but it is going to require your participation. Yeah. No one can heal for you.
All right.
You can give me all the resources you can. I can go to my therapist, and I love her. She can give me all the resources she can, but she can't make me physically do anything. Neither can you. Yeah. Neither can anybody else. So I would say that, understand your path. Don't compare yourself. Sometimes we compare grief because it's like, well, I've been depressed for this long, but this person's outside next week. How? We don't know.
You don't know.
So I just feel like, the biggest key is to understand that there's life. When you're breathing, there's purpose. So as long as you're breathing, there's purpose for you. There's always an opportunity for you to try again.
Yeah.
Do it again, and not be in a space where you feel confined.
Yeah.
Because there's life to live. And my goal is to help others. What you're doing in this platform, we don't know who's going to see this interview.
That's true.
We don't know who this is going to touch. And TD Jakes said something last week. He said the greatest gift that I can give you is exposure.
Ooh.
I'm living with that. Yeah. Because what we're doing is exposing that there's opportunities to get to the road to better.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
And there's people who don't have that. So I thank you for even having this platform. I think it's phenomenal. But yes, check out Save the Good Girl. It's a podcast. I have a website. I'm all social media platforms. And I'm also doing a lifestyle page.
Oh.
Because I forgot to add that during my grief, what also helped me was like the lifestyle videos.
Okay.
Like perfume. Because I had to learn how to get pretty again.
Yeah. Okay. You had to get glam yourself. Okay.
So like lifestyle page and stuff like that. So I am doing a lifestyle page called Exquisitely Erica.
Got it.
Yes, girl. So it's gonna be like it's like the Save the Good Girls are conversations, you know, the deep, the intellect, the mind, the body, right? And then Exquisitely Erica is all the sparkles, all the perfume, the organizing, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like those are two things that really describes me well. But I believe that there's a road to better. I believe that as long as you're breathing, there's purpose, and you should guard your heart. Guard your vulnerability as best as you possibly can, but allow yourself to still be open at the same time.
Yeah,
you know, and that your loved one will appreciate you excelling.
My gosh, that was awesome! What a beautiful send off. Thank you, Erica.
You're welcome,
I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm gonna just scoot over, give you a hug because I feel like we haven't seen each other in a while, and life has been lifing. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and tuning in. Whatever snippet you took away with, whatever things resonate for you, feel free to comment. Let us know. If you enjoyed this conversation, there will be more conversations on other topics, but I did want to start with this one because, listen, we are going through things as a people, and I'm not going to ignore that there are downs in life, right? And that is actually a normal part of life, ups and downs. We can't just want to live in one state. It doesn't exist, right? To just be happy. So just know that there are ups and downs, but we can get through them collectively. We can get through them, and you too can get through a lot of the things that you go through, right? Absolutely. And so thank you so much for joining, tuning in, listening. If you make it to the end of the video, if you watch only the middle, the first 2 minutes, as long as you got something,
they gonna get something because we fed y'all today.
I am happy, and I look forward to having you tune in to other conversations. So for now, what can I say? I'm going to repeat that though, because I just lost a thought altogether.
That was good.
Oh my God. Oh, so until next time, see you.
But don't make it so short, like see you bye.
I don't know what to say.